This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. The indie space is full of so many games that it can cause many of the great ones to get lost in the shuffle. Some get lucky to have a bigger marketing campaign behind them, or the game's media all decides to cover it in unison like with Dead Cells. And on top of this, there's an extreme amount of junk released digitally on a daily basis. And this just makes it harder to find those nuggets. But when you do, they tend to feel like these rare finds and fun experiences. I had the chance to play an early access version of GINSHA, a new Metroid RPG that is expected to release this summer on all major platforms. And more importantly, it looks very promising. Let's take a look at it today. Right from the outset, there is a feeling of familiarity and freshness to GINSHA. It is familiar because it has an assortment of modern and traditional mechanics that blend well to create an experience where you don't want to put it down and then tend to think about it when you're not playing it. Even the narrative is interesting as it has a layer of mystery, and you are slowly peeling back seeing how it all works and operates. Most importantly, it's fun to play right from the start. There's no slow build up here or long-winded elements. In many ways, it feels like a classic title that it lifts many of its inspiration from. Now, not to knock slow build-ups that provide the appropriate payoff, but I very much love a game that can get you right into it, and especially playing it right away. Something I noticed while playing GINSHA was how it does a good job of providing quick tutorials on its mechanics and systems without it feeling like the action is stop and go. Even for the first hour where everything is new, the game sort of trickles out these mechanics. They do stop the action to provide some brief explanation on this new mechanic, like how some of the platforming works or a specific weapon. But this is spaced out well to not hurt the pacing. It feels like you get a nice chunk of gameplay and then learn something new, and then get another chunk of gameplay. My guess is that this was done to keep a good flow while also slowly adding on to what you can do in the game, while also keeping in mind to not overload the player. It works, and I appreciate the work done with it. Let's get into some of the basics. This is a side-scroller, and you're going to be doing a lot of jumping and shooting. The shooting feels pretty good, with sci-fi sounding weapons along with providing solid impact and sound effects. I had a chance to play around with a burst-firing handgun, a shotgun with a good spread for up-close enemies, and a charge shot. We'll get more into how the charge shot is a tool as well later. The weapons I had to play with each had a good role and enhanced my arsenal. I do hope that we see more variations on them in the final game too. A neat mechanic is how you can scan almost anything in the environment, from enemies to things that aid you in transportation and platforming. Each time you do this, this will net you with a good amount of experience points. This honestly reminds me of the Metroid games. Oddly enough, especially the Prime ones where you can scan anything. Now back to the charge shot. This is used on enemies, and it's very useful to take down ones where they have a shield, but it can also be used to interact with the environment. For example, the charge shot can suspend traps, and then allow you to pass. Weapons like this are really promising, and now I wonder what else we can find in the game that can change how you interact with the world. Now with this being a platformer as well, there's going to be plenty of jumping. You have access to a double jump, and for certain areas use items and objects to jump further. And this has all the expected stuff, like platforms that cause you to bounce, others that need to be charged, and ones that will disappear if you touch them, and more. It gets more interesting when they combine some of these with a boss that you need to contend with. Now something else that I like that doubles as an ability for combat and one for traversal is your shield. This can be used to absorb attacks. If you have the energy and turn it on at the right time, you'll never take a hit. This is pretty cool and adds this interesting skill mechanic, where if the player reads the enemy well, you will get through most fights taking little damage. The shield can be used to allow you to float and glide around as well. Just like the charge shot, I like the double use abilities or weapons. It makes me excited to see what the rest of the game has. And now with this being a Metroidvania, GINSHA offers plenty of exploration. There's side areas to go down for more loot and items, along with even facing off against optional bosses. I even blew down a hidden wall to find more stuff. You want to see this type of stuff in a game like this, and it seems to provide that nook and cranny experience. Now as you defeat enemies, use items, fully scan things, you'll earn experience points. These can be used to increase different stats, like improving your total health and strength. Leveling will also give you skill points that you can use in a variety of skills to choose from. I like how the leveling has a good amount of options for potentially tweaking your build, along with being able to see all the available skills so you can plan appropriately. Now GINSHA does have some Souls-like elements, like dropping all of your experience points you haven't banked at your death location. You need to then go back and pick them up. One thing that I'm unsure of is where they are dropped for the platforming deaths. When I died in one of those instances, I could not find my experience points. Maybe this is more clear in the full release. Before we move to the conclusion, I want to mention the soundtrack. It has a nice mixture of minimalist tracks, which help the atmosphere, along with more high energy tracks. Here are a few tracks from the game. GINSHA with its current build makes a strong first impression. It's fun right out of the gate and something that I want to play more of. Even more impressive is that this title is made by one person. It blends rewarding progression and addictive exploration. I am curious how the karma system will play out. I have made some choices, but I don't really know how this will change or alter the story. Potentially this could mean more replay value. We have many big games coming out now and potentially this summer, so like I said before, it's important to elevate these other titles so that they hopefully can get more attention. If the full game is as good as my time with it was here, this is going to be one of the year's best gems. For those of you interested, keep an eye out on this one. If you can't wait for this release, I would highly recommend checking out their prior game, Cryo Gear, which can be found on Steam and the Switch. It's also a good example of a quality title that just didn't get enough attention. So let me know in the comments if you are interested in either of these games. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.